Chapter 5270. An ancient secret recipe for animal skins appeared in front of Jian Wufang. This recipe, you can check it out. Jian Wushuang's eyes rolled round, staring at the ancient secret recipe. After watching for a long time, then shook his head. Senior, this cannot read it. He can understand ancient scripts, but this ancient secret recipe seems to be not ancient scripts, but it is probably a special script of a certain ethnic group. He didn't know any of the runes above. If he knows one or two, he can still deduce the content of the show. Qiu Huang patted his forehead and said embarrassingly, "Haha, I am always confused. This is the text of the giant gods. Of course you don't know it. Those big fools have long since disappeared in the starry sky. Giants. The super-ethnic group that was once also in the starry sky had a glorious period. In the long river of time and space, their glorious time was very short, like a meteor sliding down, and it was just a moment of strength. On the yellowed animal skin, a dark yellow halo was slowly emitted. Jian Wushuang quickly mastered the runes of the giant god race according to Qiu Huang's annotations, and quickly understood this ancient secret method. Death and live. After Jian Wushuang figured it out, he breathed a little urge. This secret method is simply crazy. Shatter the original divine body and recast a new one. Get cash, follow VX. Public Book Friends Base Camp. You can also get cash. If this is not mastered well, the divine body is really broken, unable to condense, and people will have to waste. No wonder it's lost. Your kid is also considered lucky, and I ran into the old man, if others really can't come up with this secret method. Qiu Huang sat on the throne and said with complacency. Jian Wushuang nodded quickly, and Qiu Huang interrupted as soon as he was about to thank him. You kid, don't get me wrong, this ancient secret recipe is not given to you for nothing. You must first swear not to spread it, and then pay me 1 million treasure points. Qiu Huang continued, although I am very optimistic about you, this is the Temple of Chishan. Everything must be fair. If it is outside, I will really give it to you. This is natural. The younger generation is already very grateful to the senior for being able to come up with this secret recipe. Jian Wushuang was a little excited. God body. He wanted to improve a long time ago. This time he took the opportunity to restore the divine body and he could strengthen it once, and it was an ancient secret recipe, which was not within the exchange range of the treasure haul. Only 2 million treasure points not only restores the divine body, but also strengthens the divine body. This transaction is not a loss. Well, you don't have to thank me too much. I've been in a good mood recently. I'll give you some benefits. It's nothing. After figuring out this formula, Jian Wushuang can understand that this is not a benefit. The secret recipe of the giant gods. Although he doesn't know much about the giant gods, he can know according to the formula that the strongest place of this group is the body. Judging from the summary above, the newborn baby of the giant tribe has 1,000 times the divine body, which can be comparable to some weak and special beings. For example, Jian Wushuang is a half-hearted special life. Once grown up, there will be 5,000 times as many divine bodies, which can be comparable to the powerful and special beings in the universe. Only grown-ups can have such a powerful divine body by eating or cultivating, and it is still a race, not a unique and special life. This is terrible. In the giant clan, there are still some horrors, with a body that is over 10,000 times larger. The more Jian Wushuang understood, the more incredible it was. Direct exchange now. Senior, my origin. Jian Wushuang's origin appeared, and a brilliant column of air was undoubtedly revealed. Qiu Huang frowned. Your origin, don't seem to be injured either. In his opinion, the Dian immortal Jian Wushuang, who has never finished a realm, possesses such a huge source, in itself, has surpassed the limit. Although he felt weaker than before, he really had to look at it with the naked eye, but he really couldn't see it. He didn't know how to repair it for a while. He exploded a thought of the universe, and his thought power had reached a state where it could not spread, and he had been seriously injured. Especially the ultimate kendo, let alone breakthrough now, the sword is about to be unstable. Seeing Qiu Huang's doubts, he understood. They couldn't see his extreme way. They obviously couldn't see through himself. Let him give pointers. It's better to exchange some original treasures and repair them. Junior's kendo. This time it was hurt a bit, it was almost breaking through. Jian Wushuang deliberately turned off the topic, knowing that he had just said something wrong. Well, it's almost meaningless. I said why your origin is weaker than before. Qiu Huang nodded, waved out countless treasures, and continued, in origin, I really don't know much, yourself. Look at the pic. Enlightenment flower. Essential fruit. Emperor's luck. There were so many treasures that Jian Wushuang's eyes were dazzled, and he didn't find the treasure to restore Jidao. The other side flower. 50,000 treasure points. The ultimate treasure blooming in the long river of time and space. The emperors are crazy about it. The bien flower in the treasure hall can only be exchanged for the pollen in the bien flower, not a complete bien flower. Looking at it again, Jian Wushuang said in a daze, pollen? Is it still exchanged by one? This is too outrageous. The flowers and leaves above are still non-exchangeable treasures and can only be exchanged for pollen. But its effect is also the biggest. The legendary flower of the other bank is a magical treasure floating in the long river of time and space. One flower will cause countless emperors to fight, and one flower will give birth to several top emperors and powerful men. A complete flower of the other shore can give birth to a sixth-order emperor. Jian Wushuang still doesn't quite understand the meaning of the sixth-order emperor, but he knows one thing, that there is no sixth-order emperor in the entire primitive universe. He had never heard of the existence of the sixth-order emperor. The strongest is the fifth-order ultimate emperor. If this other shore flower appears outside the Temple of Chishan, I am afraid its attractiveness is even more terrifying than the Temple of Chishan. After all, the Chishan temple was illusory. When it was opened, although it caused the primordial universe to oscillate, it was never heard of other universe powerhouses coming to the primitive universe. The other side flower. Even Qiu Huang was moved, his eyes slightly changed and his voice became heavy and said, this other side flower should be the only one in the Temple of Chishan. This was obtained by the former existence. Shi and Zhu Yijian, the Lord's feelings were very good, and he gave it to the Lord Zhuyi before he fell. Qiu Huang's eyes were reminiscent. The peerless existence who broke the city with a sword, the existence of the sixth-order Dzogchen, was only half a step away from the true peak, but it was a pity that he eventually fell. Jian Wushuang pondered carefully, and finally he gritted his teeth and directly exchanged 20 pollen from the other shore flower. For a flower on the other side, the ghost knows how many pollen there are. For an ordinary flower, there is too much pollen on the top. You didn't make a mistake. The pollen of Bianhua is stronger than you think. Treasure it. Qiu Huang swiped his finger, a dark red wooden box, and flew towards Jian Wushuang. Open the box, there are 20 nail-sized pollen floating in it, colorless and tasteless. Chapter 5271. Jian Wushuang's naked eyes are so powerful that a drop of water can differentiate into hundreds of millions of particles, but when he looks at these pollen, he can't even see the internal structure. A trace of thought power envelops the pollen, and after careful study, it turned that trace of thought power into a vast ocean for a time. Good baby. One thought of the universe, one thought of flowers blooming. The two have the same effect. It's a pity that only flowers are obtained, and the pollen of the other side flower is the worst. If a petal can be plucked, it will be much more useful. Both Ji Dao and Sword Dao can break through, and it can also make the power of mind soar. Senior. Jian Wushuang resisted the excitement and wanted to ask. Qiu Huang waved his hand quickly and said, stop it, I can give you the secret recipe in private. It is my personal possession. Don't worry about the idea of bien flower. If it can be exchanged, it is not something you can exchange. Yes, don't forget, there is also the emperor of your primitive universe in the Temple of Chishan. If it weren't for the true spirit to establish the Senate Palace, his status would rise, and the ancient secret recipe would not be able to give Jian Wushuang. This is already a bad rule, and Bian Hua really can't give it. This is Zhu Yi's treasure, the treasure left by Zhu Yi, let alone Dian, even the emperor wants to exchange it. After all, the Suzaku Palace is in charge of Dian Immortal, and the emperor is not a member of the Suzaku Palace. Now the four great secret realms have established the Yuan Laro Palace, which has divided the power of the four halls. It is too difficult to exchange treasures from them, especially it is an ultra-vires exchange. Jian Wushuang also knew how precious it was, so he was just asking about it, but when he heard the news about the emperor, he asked curiously, "Senior, those emperors exist, are they? They are in a much worse situation than you. Although you are in the primitive world, they face more dangers than you, and they get very few treasures. It can even be said that there is no treasure for them at all. It's just a chance, and you have to work hard, you have to cherish it." Qiu Huang was right. These emperors did not have any rewards on treasures. Climbing Maureen Mountain will help them to some extent in their cultivation, but halfway through, they confronted a group of devouring demons at the fourth order emperor level. They are still facing each other and want to go to the top of the mountain. It is difficult. Unless it is a fifth order emperor. On the Maureen Mountain, there is still a demon lord, the sixth order existence. Although restrained by suppression, it can separate hundreds of clones. Each clone has Tier 5 combat power on the top of the mountain, and Tier 4 combat power on the mountainside. The Emperor of the primitive universe, the strongest is only the fourth order peak. Even if the wind and rain dominates the Aeon, it is only the fourth order limit state. It is too difficult to reach the top. In Qiu Huang's view, these emperors were pitiful enough, something nobody wanted. When they hadn't come out before, it was possible that the Chishan Temple would still keep these people as a messenger and were responsible for running the Chishan Temple. Now it seems that even the miscellaneous functions are useless. Maybe that day will become cannon fodder. The Temple of Chishan is an ancient inheritance of collection inheritors. It has never been prepared for emperors, but for those who evolve immortals. Of course, from the perspective of Chishan Temple, Yangxian and Dianxian are no different, but they are more optimistic about Yangxian. The earlier you train, the better you will be able to emerge. This is why abandon those emperors and powerful. It can't be said that it is completely abandoned, maybe a few will be screened out and pretended to be. Jian Wushuang originally thought that those strong emperors would directly accept the inheritance after entering the Temple of Chishan. After all, they were emperors. Everyone is a powerful person with great luck, and now it seems that the Temple of Chishan simply looks down on these people. But fortunately, at least Jian Wushuang now knows that Chishan Temple will focus on cultivating them, not those emperors. I have exchanged the treasure of 3 million treasure points, and I don't even frown. Boy, you are very bold. Qiu Huang played with it. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly and said directly, "As for the improvement of strength, the juniors are here to stay. The most precious thing is nothing outside of the body." Then Jian Wushuang once again learned about the casting plan of the best physical body. Are you thinking about creating a superior physical body? The corner of Jian Wushuang's mouth moved, and he still asked, "Senior, the younger generation has the eyes of the candle dragon, which can raise the physical body to 10,000 times the level. I wonder what will happen to the best quality physical body." As soon as this remark came out, Qiu Huang, who was well informed, was a little surprised. No one really tried this, and he was not easy to answer. But finally I thought of a little. How to sharpen the physical body overnight, even the top treasures, it will take 100 years. Could it be possible that the eye of the candle dragon could maintain 10,000 times the divine body for 100 years without stopping? This is obviously impossible. Qiu Huang informed Jian Wushuang of this, and advised him to give up the supergrade flesh body. After all, it was just the flesh body. It is better to concentrate all the energy on the divine body. The divine body and origin are the most important. Please help me, Mimi reading app, can steal book tickets like stealing food. Come steal the book tickets of your friends and vote for me. In Qiu Huang's view, the origin of Jian Wushuang is already enough. It is easy to prepare for the improvement of the divine body with the tens of millions of treasures on Jian Wushuang. It is easy to raise the basic divine body to 5,000 times. After entering the 4 secret realms, you can also upgrade the basic divine body. In case the old man with horns can really restore the origin of space in the beast gods, the future domain of the beasts can be strengthened. 5,000 times the basic divine body, plus the beast god domain, it is easy to break through 10,000 times the divine body. 1,000 times the body. Qiu Huang couldn't do it back then. Peerless powerhouses who can break through 10,000 times the divine body, No matter they use external force or some special beings, they are extremely against the sky. It can be said that they are of the same level, not worse than those ultimate ways. Of course, these need the corresponding secret method to assist. Just like among those emperors, the ultimate emperor that the true spirit would like is the ultimate emperor, but let the four halls choose and even let them evaluate. Emperor Chishu's potential is also very amazing, and the Temple of Chishan can help him break through. Once he becomes a fifth-order emperor plus the ultimate secret technique, his strength can be nearly invincible at the same level, and the divine body can break through again. Simply following the line of the body, you can also break through the 10,000 laws with one force and become the strongest. Jian Wushuang was originally a strong man who took the ultimate source. If he set foot on the line of the body, his future would be limitless, and he was no worse than the Hui Qing that Zhenling fancied. There is no need to build a physical body at all. Jian Wushuang also understood that he had walked too much, but his body was too important to him. Once the physical body is immortal, his close combat will once again increase several times. The sword master kills, this is the main road of attack. The divine body is like water in a container, and the physical body is that container. Once the physical body is strong enough, his divine body can also rise faster. This is undeniable, but no one will be as extravagant as him, or look so far away. After all, even if the physical body is raised 5,000 times, the container is still put down. Chapter 52-72. Senior, I have decided. The flesh is related to my own combat power. The current temple of the gods is a battleground. Improve combat power without delay. After every fight, he had to increase his combat power significantly, otherwise he would be thrown off at any time. Wanxing and Huiqing's combat power had already surpassed him by a lot. In this ranking, Hui Qing surpassed him, and Wen Xing was biting to death. If he hadn't thought of the universe, he wouldn't be ranked so high. Based on the real combat power, Hui Qing and Wanxing are now much stronger than him. His current strength is half the emperor, and he can do his best to match the emperor, but it is not enough now. In just a few decades, the former half-step emperor can now be comparable to the emperor, and the former Taoist now has a half-step emperor's combat power, and there are even some powerful men with great potential. The strong. This is only the second stage. Jian Wushuang was comparable to the 9th rank consummation when he came in, and his current combat power has improved very fast, so Hui Qing can be comparable to him. Can't be the first. What he wants is the number one, and even surpasses all others. The difference in Dao should also be reflected. After mastering the extreme way, he should have been 10 times and 100 times stronger than the same rank, but now in the same rank, Hui Qing is stronger than him. Ji Chaoyang has no inheritance, and can become a Taoist monarch by relying solely on the original Dao. Once the realm is complete, can it be improved, plus the inheritance in the future, he will at least have the combat power comparable to the emperor. Struggle. In a world of great controversy, the fight for opportunities depends on strength, not potential. With the exception of Hui Qing, he could be spotted, and there was a 1 in a billion chance that Jian Wushuang would not dare to gamble that the senior officials of the Chishan Temple would like him. He is more willing to rely on his strength to fight for it. Senior, supergrade physical body, I still need to exchange for treasures that increase the basic divine body. During the conversation with Qiu Huang, he learned the real difficulty of tempering the supergrade physical body. In purgatory, struggle for thousands of years. Refine every drop of blood and every piece of flesh into one body. At that time, his entire physical body will be immortal. 10,000 years. Jian Wushuang was a little surprised. Wouldn't it be enough for 100 years? Boy, the super-quality flesh body has 9 refinements, and the 9-strength super-quality physical body takes 7,000 years at the fastest and tens of thousands of years. I think you have a good foundation, saying that 10,000 years is short enough. As Qiu Huang said, he planned a large number of treasures together. There are many treasures needed for the supergrade physical body, and it is not certain whether it can be made. It is not as good as refining the superior physical body, which takes a short time and consumes little, and it does not take as long as 10,000 years, which consumes energy, and money. Then there, Wanian's spacetime house. Jian Wushuang said. Of course, the entire Temple of the Gods is actually a space-time house. We have a year here, and the outside world is 10,000 years. If the flow of time is the same as the outside world, then the controllers of the Temple of the Gods will be crazy. Jian Wushuang was stunned. It was the first time he had heard of such a large space-time house for 1 year in the Chishan Temple and thousands of years outside. The flow rate he wanted became slower. The flow rate of the Chishan Temple was 10,000 times that of the outside world, and the space-time house became much simpler. As long as a tens of thousands of times the space-time house, using the time origin of the Temple of Chishan, it can bless tens of thousands of times, and the sum of the two is 1 billion times the flow rate. Seeing Jian Wushuang's worries, Qiu Huang comforted, even if it is 100,000 years, sometimes the empty house will help you get it done, and it will definitely not affect your next trial. By the way, this time you have a 1-month break. The following trials will subvert the previous model. Before, it was all screening, and then it's tempering. What Qiu Huang said was similar to what he had guessed, and he secretly breathed a sigh of relief. If it were not for infinite stacking, he would really have the confidence to pass 19 levels. After finishing all the necessary treasures and even the space-time house, Jian Wushuang took out the token, glanced at the remaining treasures, and couldn't help but be speechless. Almost 14 million treasure points, and spent more than 2 million. It took 3 million to restore strength and restore the original treasures, and the remaining over 8 million were all spent on the supergrade divine body. He had exchanged all the treasures of the 9 supergrade refinements. According to Qiu Huang, the 6th refinement was a success, and he could return the remaining treasures if he couldn't hold it later. If you can't hold it for the first 6 times, it also means a failure, and the treasures can't be returned by then. Moreover, the super-quality physical body needs to go to other spaces, and someone will come to pick him up later. With the heavy treasures, I left the treasure hall, and planned to go to the treasure hall to see the old man with horns, but now there is no time. When I saw Wanxing, he also came out of the treasure hall. It is estimated that he also learned that there was a 1-month gap, so he stepped forward and took the initiative to start a conversation with Jian Wushuang. Wanxing, what about the power of the eternal treasure? Jian Wushuang asked curiously. Although it is an imitation, it can be said to be the eternal treasure of imitation. Even the emperor does not have it. Of course he is curious. Not only he is curious, it is estimated that everyone is curious. Wanxing Tiendi, with a strong breath exuding between his eyebrows, he handed it around, and there was a large golden seal surrounded by 8 silver dragons in his hand. The swimming silver dragon above roared from time to time, and his power was undoubtedly revealed. It is indeed a rare treasure. I praised it on the face, but in my heart I was extremely sorry. How could it not be a sword? Wen Xing's luck is indeed good and outrageous. Jian Wushuang has heard of it. He originally used seals. The emperor's unique learning he cultivated is also very consistent with this big seal. All of this is God's will, or the Temple of Chishan did it deliberately. It's all foreign objects. Treasures that can increase the foundation are the key. Wanxing Tiandi's eyes were firm, and he put away the 8 directions of Yunlong Yin. There is nothing wrong with what he said, but it will definitely feel contempt for others to hear it. Jian Wushuang could understand Wanxing. In the future, it will be the ultimate way, or the world where all the ways are one. After all, the original school is the mainstream, and if the Temple of Chishan cultivates those Dian immortals who walk in the body, they will also have a share. Of these 3 paths, 10,000 stars do not occupy one. He has reached the limit, and further down is to take the original path and elevate the path to perfection. But the second-grade original Tao, no matter how perfect it will be weaker than the ultimate Tao in the future. His only way out now is to embark on the line of the body. But the divine body route, the necessary inheritance is not available at all, and I can only use treasures to hit the divine body multiple. Wanxing had the strength to smash it, but this was not a solution. Thousands of times, it's okay. The Temple of Chishan has that background, but if you want to break 10,000 times, it's not that simple. If you don't break 10,000 times, you can't do that. The two chatted for a few words, and then they separated. Jian Wushuang didn't conceal it either. He said directly that he wanted to cultivate a supergrade physical body. Especially when he heard that he spent more than 8 million to cultivate the illusory body, and he couldn't increase the strength of the body, it was also extremely surprised. Chapter 5273. I'm afraid that the entire primordial world is just as extravagant as Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang also had his own plans. With regard to the divine body, he didn't plan to go to the extreme from the beginning. His advantage is to follow the original path, but he can't walk now. It's better to cultivate the physical body to consummation first, especially the immortality of the supergrade physical body, which is full of temptation. As long as one hair, it can be restored. Even a single breath can condense a clone. This is simply what he dreamed of. Life-saving always comes first. You can fight if you have fate. In terms of the divine body, he has the domain of the beast gods, and this is really not anxious. This time, his basic divine body is expected to be 3,000 times, which is considered a small achievement, plus the beast domain, it can also be about 10,000 times, and it happens to be able to cultivate a supergrade physical body. After returning to the wall, he discovered that there was no one on the wall. That's right, many people have entered the space-time house within a month, ready to fight hard. If you can advance to the extreme Dian Immortal, you can fight again. Without the combat power of the extreme Dian Immortal, you will wait to die if you stay. They are also shocked by the 9th wave now, afraid that this kind of superimposed test will continue to grow in the future. Looking at the dark turmoil outside the city, Jian Wushuang's eyes turned, and there was a little resonance with it. A pair of scarlet eyes flashed, but disappeared into the darkness in an instant. Jian Wushuang could see clearly, frowning slightly. The trace of thought power just now was wrapped in a message that was passed on. He couldn't understand it. It should be the language of devouring demon lord. Do these devourers find that I am the same as them? Jian Wushuang was shocked. Cold sweat broke out from behind instantly, and if this is the case, I'm afraid the high level of Chishan Temple will find it too. Maybe it has already been discovered. Looking at how the Chishan Temple treats these devourers, it is obvious that they are treated as monsters, and they have the power to devour them. This association made Jian Wushuang a trace of fear in his eyes. The information wrapped by Nianli was also crushed by him. It was only a sigh of relief to cover up the desire to swallow at the bottom of my heart. If the Temple of Chishan discovers the secrets in him, and does not take action against him, it means that he has not touched the bottom line of the Temple of Chishan. It seems that this place is not a chance, but a tomb. It is the tomb of his Jian Wushuang. If someone wants to move him, no matter how many cards he has, he can't resist. Fortunately, the mood is strong enough to stabilize the mind. In the sky, a space was torn apart, and a woman in red armor walked out from the crack in the space. Her face is exquisite, her eyes are cold, especially her face has lines visible to the naked eye, and her red armor is full of heroism. Jian Wushuang knew that this was the person Qiu Huang had called him, and he hurriedly stepped forward to meet him. The red-clad woman, with a heavy voice, had a lifeless aura that made Jian Wushuang's mind tremble. This existence didn't have any aura, but the pressure on him was stronger than Zhan Wuyang. It is countless times stronger than those emperors who have seen him. Jian Wushuang, I am ordered by the palace master to take you to Maureen Mountain and accept the 9 refinements of the flesh. Thank you, Emperor. Jian Wushuang bowed again and thanked him again, and his respect for the strong could not be less. This was Jian Wushuang's accumulated experience over the years. You can call me Zhu Qi. Zhu Qi, with a delicate and cold face, was very unhappy with the title of emperor. Jian Wushuang stood aside, nodded and said yes. However, the word adult was added after the name. No need to resist, I will take you through time and space teleportation. Zhu Qi stretched out Qian's thin arm, opened his palm and directly grabbed Jian Wushuang into his hand. At that moment, Jian Wushuang discovered that there was an eye in the palm of Zhu Qi's palm. After he was swallowed into that eye, he was able to see the outside world clearly through Zhu Qi's eyes. Hello everyone, our public account will find gold and coin red envelopes every day, and you can receive them as long as you pay attention. Please seize the opportunity for the last benefit at the end of the year. Book Friends Base Camp. This is simply amazing. Jian Wushuang was like a kid going to the fair for the first time, staring at him, looking around. But no matter how he turned his eyes, the scene in front of him remained unchanged. Yes, this is the perspective of Master Zhu Qi after all. The two, or Zhu Qi, returned to the space crack and appeared in the void of the primitive world. It happened to appear in a huge formation. Zhu Qi took out a token from his hand, and the word Jian Wushuang above knew it. Suzaku Hall, Zhu Qi. Jian Wushuang whispered in his heart. According to speculation, Qiu Huang's Zhuyi should be the palace master. This also made him breathe a sigh of relief. At first he thought he was the master of the Qishan temple. It seemed that the Qishan temple was really much stronger than he had imagined. At least any one person is stronger than all the emperors he has ever seen. Perhaps his vision is low and he can't see through. But the seventh master Zhu was at least much better than Zhen Wuyang. After the token was placed in the big formation, the world revolved, and Jian Wushuang only felt the scene in front of him began to revolve. Jian Wushuang naturally didn't care about the feeling of spinning around the world. Until everything he saw before his eyes turned into a circular tunnel, Zhu Qi stepped out of and the tunnel disappeared. The world stopped spinning, and Jian Wushuang could see the outside world clearly. The towering Maureen mountain appeared before his eyes. The mist on the clouds lingered, and on the dark mountain, it was barely different from the primordial star. After arriving at the place, Zhu Qi didn't mean to release Jian Wushuang. Zhu Qi's figure fell to the entrance of the mountain. Jian Wushuang also blinked his eyes and looked at everything outside. In the next moment, Zhu Qi's figure was like a ghost, and there were countless figures on that trail, all walking slowly and staggeringly, and every step of Zhu Qi was hundreds of feet. More than everyone. Although Zhu Qi's speed was very fast, Jian Wushuang could still see the outside world clearly. That's it. Jian Wushuang was shocked. Isnt, the head of the monk who sits cross-legged for 3,000 battles, the thousand-handed Buddha he has seen? The thousand-hand Buddha, and the immeasurable Buddha. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. It seemed that the chance Qiu Huang was talking about was here. Seeing those emperors walking hard, he understood why Zhu Qi put him into his hands. The difficult road that the emperor is taking, if he comes out, I am afraid he will die suddenly. Familiar figures appeared in front of them. The emperors who used to be high above, one by one deliberately turned their bodies into tens of thousands of powerful people, are now like an elderly man, walking 2 steps and stopping for a while. Zhu Qi's speed was very fast, and he reached halfway up the mountain in a short while. This place is different from below. There is now a pagoda sitting here. Jian Wushuang is also very familiar with this tower. This tower is the eternal tower of the pinnacle power. Now the Aeon is only a few battles in size, and outside of it, there are hundreds of evil figures, frantically attacking the Aeon. Although he couldn't feel the breath, he still recognized the identities of these evil figures based on their eyes. Chapter 5274. Swallow Demon Lord. Why are these people stuff everywhere? The Temple of Qishan hates these devourers and treats these devourers as sharpening stones. In terms of these things, how are they like locusts? They have them all. This is an ethnic group. Jian Wushuang asked in doubt. It doesn't look like an individual's life. When Zhu Qi's figure passed the Aeon Tower, it only took a glance to kill all the devouring demon lords surrounding the Aeon Tower. Humph. Jian Wushuang watched carefully. After the devouring demon lords dissipated, they turned into mist and returned to the top of the mountain. And they were heading to the top of the mountain at this time, and they reached the top of the mountain in a short time. The scenery on the top of the mountain made Jian Wushuang a little surprised. Not so good. Wow. The sound of heavy chains came from the stone pillars on the top of the mountain. Not showing up yet. Zhu Qi's voice was cold. Click. A burly figure walked out from behind the stone pillar. His hands, feet, waist, and neck were all bound by chains, and even on his chest there was a huge barb, clinging to its bones. Zhu Qi. Shan Jun. From the mouth of Zhu Qi, Jian Wushuang knew that the strange beast in front of him was named Shanjun. More importantly, this mountain monarch is actually a devouring monarch. I have been ordered to send someone into the demon suppression pillar to sharpen the body. Zhu Qi's voice was as indifferent as ever. The sacred fangs in the mouth of the mountain king trembled slightly. Why do I have to report to this prisoner when I send someone in? Jian Wushuang was also a little surprised. This existence was right, why should he report it to the other party? If he were outside at this time, he would definitely be shocked when he watched Zhu Qisha. Because of this indifferent woman, she was crying. So Jian Wushuang's vision became blurred. It seems that there are hidden secrets in this. Jian Wushuang's mouth turned up, thinking something in his heart. Shan Jun's eyes were still fierce, his scarlet eyes turned, and he stared at Zhu Qi's eyes without hesitation. Jian Wushuang saw the truth, as if the two were looking at each other. Then come in. Shan Jun moved lightly, and the chain behind him was pulled out of the magic pillar, and a small door frame leaked out. No one has used it for so many years, now someone will come, and in the days to come, you won't be lonely. Zhu Qi trembled a little, walked straight beside Shan Jun, stretched out his hand to swallow Jian Wushuang into the palm of his hand, and sent it into the pillar of suppression demon. Upon seeing this, Shan Jun frowned, but he didn't say much. He used his back to plug the gap on the suppression demon pillar again. Then his eyes were closed tightly, and Zhu Qi who stood in front of him was ignored. Jian Wushuang's figure turned into a streamer and fell into the bottom of the suppression demon pillar. Boom! His feet hit the ground heavily, and Jian Wushuang's armor had already leaked out, always protecting himself. Now he hasn't recovered his strength, there is really any danger, but he can't resist resistance. After stabilizing his figure, he scanned the surroundings and found that Zhu Qi had not come with him. In the magic column, there is another cave. The ground here is very flat, it can even be said to be unusually smooth and hard. He hit the ground heavily just now, and he didn't even leave a trace. Everything around him seemed empty, except that there was a 9-story tower in front of his eyes, which was about 100 meters high. In addition to the tower, there is also a huge furnace. Jian Wushuang walked to the side of the fire, looked around, and found that there was no one at all. Is this going to let him explore it alone? Below the stove, there is a natural ground fire that burns the dragon red. Cosmic copper furnace. Jian Wushuang saw a few ancient characters protruding from the top, which were the characters of the giant gods, and Jian Wushuang recognized it. The old man Qiu Huang has never said that there is this Ding universe bronze furnace. Cool. Just as Jian Wushuang was about to sit down cross-legged and regained his strength, a burst of black smoke rose from the top of the copper furnace. Jian Wushuang was familiar with this scene, very similar to the old men in Qiu Huang City. The black mist condenses and finally turns into a human form. The only difference from Qiu Huang and others is that this black misty figure is much younger. He wears dazzling black armor, sword eyebrows, star eyes, sharp facial features, plus the beard on the temples. It looks very heroic. Jian Wushuang, as always, bowed to his head. Junior Jian Wushuang, meet senior. The black-clad middle-aged man just nodded, and then his figure floated to the door of the tower. How much do you know about this trial tower? Jian Wushuang raised his head, looked up and down the trial tower again, and said, the juniors don't know much about it, but they learned from senior Qiu Huang that the supergrade flesh body needs 9 refinements, so it should be to step on this trial tower. The 9th floor. The middle-aged man in black armor nodded, and after a moment of silence, he replied, almost. The trial tower was not forged for the flesh, not even the cosmic copper furnace. Jian Wushuang was a little surprised. The trial tower is to temper the flesh. The universe copper furnace is the real refinement of the undead. The treasures you exchange will also be used in the universe copper furnace in the future. After the two talked for a while, Jian Wushuang understood the horror under the superposition of the two. In the cosmic copper furnace, there is the origin of the universe, coupled with the immortal earth fire. A ray of arrogance is enough to make the 9-ranked Dian immortal fall. There is no 10,000 times divine body, even if you are a strong Taoist, you can't hold on to a stick of incense. 9 refining, just the first refining, takes an hour, and the later period requires tens of thousands of years of refining. I think you still have injuries. When you are ready, you can call me at any time. Jian Wushuang asked anxiously, Senior, I don't know if there is time to speed up here. Don't worry, when you enter here, the flow rate has been blessed to 200,000 times. As soon as the black-clad middle-aged man's voice fell, his figure returned to the cosmic copper furnace. Jian Wushuang was the only one left in the entire demon pillar. What he has to do now is to recover his injury first, and then improve his divine body. Every time he is injured, his origin will be stronger than ever. This is a unique characteristic of Jidao. I don't know how much he can improve this time. Sitting cross-legged on a clearing, began to run the origin. Wow! A huge image of the starry sky appeared all around, and Jian Wushuang seemed to be cross-legged in the starry sky. This time the loss of Jidao origin is actually not that much. Jian Wushuang's mouth raised, saying that it was a serious injury, because he hadn't suffered such a serious loss before. All kinds of treasures were recruited at will, floated into the body, and finally entered the original air column. Melt. Inside the source gas column, Jian Wushuang's pronucleus turned into a smaller self, mobilizing countless treasures, and began to repair its origin. Chapter 5275. The origin of the loss this time was mainly Jidao. After all, it was thought power that blew itself up. Even if the sword formation exploded along with it, the sword formation itself was transformed by thought power. Therefore, the ultimate kendo does not consume much. This time I didn't exchange so many kendo origins, mainly for the restoration and promotion of Jidao. Swallowing countless demon monarchs, the fourth layer of Jidao is already full. This time, while recovering, you can try to hit the fifth floor. As for the ultimate swordsmanship, there is still no idea of a breakthrough for the time being, which is also related to his origin. At the end of this time, he must separate the Ji Dao and the Sword Dao. The two can cooperate with each other in the secret method or the jerk, but it is related to the origin and must be distinguished. The Sword Master kills the sun. It is a pure yang sword body. Not to be confused. Ji Dao is different. Ji Dao is more like the first-class sect. Comprehend everything, master the avenue of everything, encompass the universe. The patterns of the two are different. Don't look at the fact that they are very strong now, but in the future, they will have a headache. Everything is transformed. There are too many treasures used in the restoration of the extreme Dao, some of which are the origin of the Emperor, and some are not complete. These origins are actually not conspicuous in the treasure house. At that time, he exchanged the origin of 200,000 supreme treasure points from Qiu Huang in one breath. Just to swallow this time. Let Jidao get full first, and then fix those broken loopholes. Yep. A crack appeared on the magnificent source column. Jian Wushuang, turned into a soul god, flew directly close to the origin of Jidao, took out a piece of Konoha, and put Konoha into the crack according to Qiu Huang's method. The cracks on the pillar began to recover at a speed visible to the naked eye. Every crack or broken hole was repaired by Jian Wushuang one by one. Hundreds of thousands of treasures were consumed in just 3 days. Finally, the first step is complete. The origin of Jidao has been completely restored. He hasn't used the pollen of Hygan flower for the time being, and he plans to use it in the ultimate kendo. Boom. Boom. After the Jidao completely recovered, there was a scene of all things resuscitating inside. He felt relaxed physically and mentally in the bath of the soul, and his mind was refreshed. The eyes were also brighter, and even the soul realm increased rapidly. Forget it, I'll give you 5. The Jidao obviously showed signs of loosening. The pollen that was originally intended to be used for the ultimate kendos Beganhua took out 5 of them and put them into the original air column. The other shore flower. One flower blooms without roots and traces, colorless and tasteless. It is floating on the other side of the long river of time and space, and it seems that its appearance has nothing to do with the entire universe or with time and space. But its overflow is the essence of the long river of time and space. Back then, ancient times, the long river of time and space is not so lifeless as it is now. At that time, the practitioners, whether they are the emperor or the highest existence in the universe, they all yearn for a flower from the other side. Its value is comparable to that of the universe. But this kind of heaven-defying treasure is not obtained by strength, but by luck. It is said that the other shore flower grows in the long river of time and space, but according to what Qiu Huang said, it is likely to grow in the heart. Growing in the heart of a certain mighty person, wherever the heart is, and wherever he can see, there will be a flower from the other side blooming. Originally Jian Wushuang thought that it was the strongest person who got it by virtue of his strength. Now it seems that it is not only strength, but also luck, and great opportunity. She didn't use this flower on her own, but left it to Chishan Temple and gave it to her friend Zhu Yi. Jian Wushuang couldn't do this kind of selfless great freedom. Among the people he knows, it is estimated that Xian Yi can do it. Now, maybe Hua Qing can do it too. What is this? This is great freedom, as I wish, the flesh can be cut to you. At this point, Jian Wushuang thought of the world of Tongtian Buddhism, which is their old tradition. Putting it in the Daisy domain, let alone the other shore flower, it was just because of the outer hall of the Chishan Temple that Zhen Wuyang almost destroyed the entire domain, and the entire era of killing was completely annihilated. Jian Wushuang looked more and more magical. Such a treasure, he did not expect that one day, he would also get it. Although it was just the pollen above, it was enough, he was not an emperor. The 5 pollen, in their origin, turned into fist-sized particles and gradually spread. He doesn't open his arms. Blossom. The pollen rises when it blooms, and although it is tasteless, it is very poignant, and now the pollen collapsed represents withering. With a drink and a peck, Jian Wushuang actually caused his own destruction to rise several levels. This is the process of destruction and rebirth, which naturally benefits. But this is only a little benefit. The real big benefit is that his origin has also been reborn again. Cool. The 5th floor of Jidao broke through. The huge swallowing made his heart palpitations, and his pupils suddenly shrank, and he couldn't help it for a while. He hurriedly took out 5 more pollen, and it was considered as a steady source of vibration. Sure enough. Jian Wushuang stared at the original Qi pillar in shock. The benefits of this breakthrough to the extreme path were not only the increase in thought power and devouring, it also increased the power of his soul. When it reaches its limit, it has laid the foundation for the soul to perfection in the future. Especially the origin of space, this kind of origin power that can be cultivated by emperors, Jian Wushuang is now considered to have completely crossed the threshold of entry. Although he has not yet entered the room, he has some eyebrows. At least in Dian Immortal, few people know the origin of space better than him. Thanks to Candle Dragon Wings, the treasure of space is different. Although it was only a part of the incompleteness, it also made his spatial origin start faster than ordinary people. After the Jidao origin was completely stabilized, Jian Wushuang opened his eyes and let out a sigh of relief. The first hurdle is over. The loss of ultimate kendo is much simpler to repair. Then there is the restoration of the divine body. For the divine body, Jian Wushuang also laid the blood, and just an ancient secret recipe cost him 1,000,000 treasure points. There is also the flesh and blood of the giant gods, one to repair, and the other to strengthen the basic divine body. 2 birds with 1 stone, good things come together. Next, he began to repair the origin of kendo, the purest treasure and a heart of kendo, so that he repaired extremely smoothly. The only pity was that all 10 pollen were used up, and he still had no idea about the breakthrough. It seemed that he really couldn't break through the 7th layer of the big hurdle for a while. In the suppression demon column, it is 100 years in a flash. The restoration of the original source took only a year or so, and it took hundreds of years to restore the truly difficult divine body. This restoration has improved his divine body thousands of times. Now it has barely entered the ranks of 3,000 times. It is completely comparable to those cosmic-level special beings. The special beings in the Great Division's domain at the beginning were only 2,000 times the strongest. Now he has completely surpassed those special beings born in the domain, and is truly comparable to those cosmic-level special beings. Chapter 5276. After the injury was completely repaired, Jian Wushuang's primordial spirit returns and his true body descends. Slowly opened his eyes, in the dark golden eyes, a trace of pupils were still scarlet, and they exuded an evil aura. After breaking through the 5th layer, that sense of pressure hit again. However, the strength of the mind still suppressed the evil aura to death. After standing up, Jian Wushuang clenched his fists, bowed slightly, and the red mark on the center of his eyebrows began to explode. The third eye, Candle Dragon's eye, broke out completely, running to the limit. Beast God. Jian Wushuang let out a low roar, and the smooth ground under his feet boiled instantly, and a huge disc appeared. The totem of the Candle Dragon is marked above. Ouch! A phantom of 1,000-stranded Candle Dragon instantly rose from the soles of the feet, and the sound of the dragon's ming was the world's best. Field. Wow! The plain totem on the sole of the foot turned into a blood-stained space, and the Candle Dragon was completely transformed into a living thing. It's just a pity that Candle Dragon's wings can't be stacked, otherwise it's better than what they are now. Strands of light red arrogance began to rise from him. The divine body keeps increasing. The 3,000 times the basic divine body quickly increased to 5,000 times. 7,000 times. 8,000 times. 9,000. 9,998. 10,000 times. The original red arrogance has now turned into scarlet. The armor of the Mad Devil Slayer was dyed dark red armor. WAN times divine body, he is considered to be achieved. What we need to do now is to maintain it for 10,000 years. According to what Qiu Huang and the black-clad man said, every time the trial is completed, it can be repaired, which also gave him time to breathe. Only in the end, he still has to keep it for hundreds or even thousands of years. Call. Jian Wushuang let out a sulky breath, and after he stood up completely, his figure turned into about 9 feet. Senior, Junior is ready to open the trial tower. As soon as his voice fell, a figure rose again from the cosmic copper furnace. Looking at Jian Wushuang with a somewhat complicated gaze, he slowly said, 10,000 times divine body, a little bit reluctant. Good luck. Middle-aged man in black armor, deep finger, 1 point. The trial tower hummed, and then the tower on the first floor gleamed brightly. Go in. Jian Wushuang bowed again and thanked him again, then his figure flashed without any delay, and he walked directly into the first floor of the trial tower. The black armor figure watched Jian Wushuang enter the trial tower, and the surprise in his eyes was released. When Jian Wushuang first came here, he found the breath of Jian Wushuang, especially Jian Wushuang who had restored his origin, that breath was even stronger. Who is he? The black-clad man was full of doubts. If it is the incarnation of God, the true spirit should find out. After hesitating for a while, he returned to the copper furnace of the universe, but a plan emerged from the bottom of his heart. Jian Wushuang entered the trial tower, but he didn't know that he was favored. Others are favored by the true spirit, but he is different, he is favored by a demon lord. After stepping into the trial tower, he discovered that in this cavernous sky, it was completely different from the purgatory heaven he imagined. It turned out to be a paradise here. A peaceful valley. There are many mundane things living in it, such as cattle, sheep, horses, and other wild animals. Ding! After Jian Wushuang fell on the ground, he didn't respond quickly before he found a message sent by his identity token. Within 10 years, all the livestock in this area will be eaten up. This. Jian Wushuang held the token and stared at it with small eyes. Eat it all? Will this be too simple? If it's just a simple meal, he can swallow it in 1 bite. But when he mobilized his power, he found that he couldn't mobilize his power, and he couldn't even get things from the Shumi world. Nowadays, he is no different from a mortal except for his powerful body. Since falling on the grass outside the valley, he hasn't even the ability to fly. Look at the gliding wild goose above the sky again. Jian Wushuang was dumbfounded. What kind of trial is this? He spent so many treasures that he actually allowed him to learn mortal hunting. After pondering for a long time, he still couldn't start. He really has no experience in this line. He didn't realize the hunger after a long absence until his stomach started grunting. A heavy armor, he began to take off the armor. There is only one strong suit on her body, which is very comfortable, and she is also very vigorous in her activities. It is about a height of a leap. There are still some differences with mortals. Until, he saw a wild boar with a long stature, madly hitting a fruit tree, waiting for the fruit to fall, and then picking up the fruit on the ground to eat. Jian Wushuang swallowed. I looked around, picked up a stone, and started to look at the first prey wild boar about the time of a stick of incense. Under the fruit tree, only Jian Wushuang was standing alone, or just barely standing with his back leaning against the tree. The wild boar is walking slowly to the only river in the valley to drink water. Jian Wushuang was clutching his stubborn belly. The feeling of ukanshu. Com was even more uncomfortable than when he was fighting. A sense of powerlessness struck immediately. Jian Wushuang forcibly endured the pain, picked up a few fruits that wild boars couldn't like, and rubbed it on his body. An unbearable sour taste made him vomit out. No wonder the wild boars look down on it, the fruit is clearly unripe. Jian Wushuang was so embarrassed that he was struggling to walk. He felt that his ribs had just been broken by a wild boar. Fortunately, he is a bit stronger than a mortal, otherwise he would have to explain to the wild boar just now. Stumbled toward the river about 3 feet wide, first washed his face, so that his mind was sobered, and then drank the water from the river. He continued to drink until he felt full before he stopped. Lying flat on the grass, turning his head, he saw that the tusk-toothed boar was actually in the river upstream of him. The water in the mouth just swallowed, and it suddenly disappeared. The sky was getting dim. In the sunny valley during the day, wolves roar everywhere at night. If it was before, it was nothing, but now Jian Wushuang's combat effectiveness is not as good as a wild boar, he really has to be careful. Before the sky was completely dark, he climbed onto the fruit tree with crooked neck. Without sleep all night, his eyes are a little sunken. At 10 in the morning, he and the group of livestock went to the river to drink, but this time he learned to be smart and ran to the uppermost reaches. Although he wasn't very vocal, at least he wouldn't feel so uncomfortable in his heart. At least one day later, he also ate a lot of ripe fruit on the tree and gained a little confidence. It's not possible to deal with wild boars. In addition to the wild boar, there are also the silly roe deer on the mountain. This threat is a little bit smaller, and he can start with the silly roe deer. After finalizing the plan, Jian Wushuang began to explore the woods on the mountain. Chapter 52-77. It is a pity that he heard a tiger roar before he entered the forest. The sound of tiger roaring mountain forest stopped him. At this moment, he had to think, if he was eaten by the Tiger King in the mountains, whether he was really dead or faked. He had to admit that there was a real danger of death. If this is true, he needs too much defense. In this way, this first exercise really trapped him. Even if it can't be done, he will have to live here for 10 years. Wild boar. Not advisable. At present, his abilities are at best a little better than mortals. After all aspects are suppressed, the whole valley he can bully maybe the little lamb. But when he was staring at the lambs, the wild wolf on the high of the valley cast threatening eyes. Facing Jian Wushuang, a carnivore who suddenly appeared in the valley, he was very vigilant. They don't want to be like wild boars, they can knock you over. For the next whole day, Jian Wushuang was observing the animals in the valley, whether it was a group of goats, a lonely wild boar, or a cow or sheep, he didn't rush to do anything. In terms of strength alone, he doesn't even have a pig's strength. As for the wolf, one can deal with it, and 2 and 3 can go up together, and he is also suspended. In the starry sky, he has witnessed the rise of the human race, and there are hunting scenes in his memory. If the strength is not enough, then rely on the brain. Use traps to kill those large livestock. The goal now is to live and eat. It was very late in the afternoon, with plenty of sunshine. Many animals are crawling on the grass, bathing in sunlight. Jian Wushuang sneaked into the flock of sheep secretly and took the opportunity to sleep for 2 hours. He would never sleep at night now. If he was attacked by some carnivores, he would definitely be in danger of death. He can only choose to rest during the day and avoid the predators at night in the trees at night. However, he was not idle either. As night fell, he climbed the crooked neck tree 3 to 5 times high again, but he had a very tough stick in his hand, which was thick and strong. In addition to the wooden sticks, he also stole a lot of rattans picked up by the sheep and 2 angular stones picked up by the river. As night fell, his vision was dim. According to the experience gained during the daytime groping, he first polished the stone, sharpened the edges and corners, and then began to weave the rattan into a rope. Fortunately, He was boring enough to see how the ancients survived. Otherwise, when he comes here, his eyes are really black and he doesn't know what to do. For 3 consecutive days, I polished the stones and made ropes every night. During the day, I took the opportunity to mix in with the sheep to rest. With the cover of the sheep, the wild boars did not dare to trouble him. Enter the 5th day of the trial tower. Jian Wushuang created a weapon of his own. A sharp spear. The spearhead is a stone with sharp edges and blood troughs. At least with him, Jian Wushuang can break through the defenses of those wild boars. But this is far from enough. He was not in a hurry to deal with the wild boar. There are no more animals in this valley, and no more animals. The top herbivores are cattle. They are so big that wolves are afraid to hunt them. But they are gentle by nature and are not very threatening. There are about 30 heads in this group. The second is the wild boar. Jian Wushuang has suffered a lot from them. Every morning, these wild boars will hit the tree, so he has to get down from the tree in advance and go to the sheep to take refuge. Moreover, wild boars are militant. Whether they are herbivorous or carnivorous, they will provoke each other. Under the 2 fangs, even the wolves dare not go head-to-head. The number of this ethnic group is about 100, but they are very scattered and generally do not live in groups. In addition to these 2 heavyweight opponents, the rest is not a big threat. The horse herd, like the sheep, is very gentle by nature and not threatening at all. However, Jian Wushuang knew it for a while and didn't dare to do anything with them. At night, he found that most of the wolves were sneaking on the outside of the flock, and he did not dare to attack the flock. After all, there are too many, thousands of them, and there are only dozens of wolves. The wrestling of sheep is not a joke. It seems that I can only go to the riverside to try my luck. Jian Wushuang held the spear, and the stone on the spear head was fixed by the rope very strong, like one body. After arriving at the river, he began to move some stones to block the river. Between the gaps, there was only 1 finger wide, and no fish larger than a slap could get through. After setting up all this, Jian Wushuang began to wait for the fish from upstream. He has been eating fruit for so many days, and his whole person has lost a lot of weight. After returning to a mortal, he slowly regained the feeling he once had. Earth. Jian Wushuang sighed that he used to be able to fly, but he would never run, but how eager to fly now. If you can fly, let alone the wild boar, he is not afraid of the Tiger King in the mountains. Puff. The splash gradually rose, and the sword plunged into the water without the spear in both hands. Thump. Jian Wushuang jumped directly into the turbulent river. Through the clear water, he saw the big fish that had been pierced into the water. Unsurprisingly, in addition to making weapons these days, he really observed whether there were fish in the river, or whether there were fish-eating carnivores such as brown bears. Fortunately, after a few days of observation, there are no bears, but some fishes. Today's receipt is destined to let him have a meal. By the small river, he dealt with this big fish, which was not of any kind, urgently. Although it was a bit rough, it was enough to fill his stomach. He hasn't found a good place to live so far, and he doesn't dare to make a fire, so he can only eat raw. The plump fish that has been cleared by the river has no fishy smell, but is very cool and refreshing. After swallowing a whole fish into his belly, he found that his whole body felt a scorching sensation, as if he had a lot of strength, and he didn't know how to vent it. Jian Wushuang picked up a stone by the river, Yang started to chop it, and directly split the hard pebbles in half. I am actually much better than before. My strength is increasing. Jian Wushuang was extremely surprised. It turned out that these things were great supplements, not ordinary things. He didn't know how strong he was when he first came in, but he can now judge that the strength of his hands is definitely more than 1,000 catties. He jumped up. It was still about a battle. This point hasn't changed, but the running speed has increased a lot. The ordinary flesh is a point stronger than before. This is just a fish, if you eat that wild boar. Jian Wushuang's eyes became hot, and now his eyes glowed with seductive light when he looked at the animals. Only now did he understand the true meaning of this first practice. A single fish can increase the strength of several hundred catties, so if all the livestock in this area are eaten, wouldn't it be able to break the sky with a mortal body? This is only the first layer. After eating these animals, it is considered to have passed the first level, then enter the universe copper furnace, and survive the copper furnace refining, which is the real first refinement. Chapter 5278. It has been almost a month since I got here. Jian Wushuang started fishing for the first time and ate fish for a month, and now his strength has exceeded 10,000 catties. The hundreds of fatty fish in the river were almost cleaned by him. I'm used to catching it, it's 3 to 5 a day. With my current physical strength, it's time to meet the wild boar. Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed, clearing the blood on the spear. As soon as I was together, I saw a wild boar drinking water downstream. This was the first time, attacking his side. Most wild boars live in the woods, with only a few heads roaming on the grass in the valley as a whole. Jian Wushuang picked up a piece of gravel, grabbed it, and then threw it at the wild boar drinking water. A terrible pig cry resounded through the valley. The stone hit the wild boar's back, making the wild boar limping back quickly. Go and pack you tonight. Swordless, holding a spear in both hands, left the river. After observing these days, he found that wolves hunt in Hudong at night, and wild boars are in Hushi at night. At that time, no predator will compete with him. After taking his attention, he attached to the flock, lay down on a steep slope, and waited for the night to come. According to his calculations, the strength of a pig should be around 3,000. Now his strength with both fists breaking 10,000 catties is dozens of times stronger than before. It should be no problem to deal with a wild boar. Moreover, the wild boar's hind leg was injured, and he couldn't run, so he could only fight with him. Lying on the hillside, Jian Wushuang's eyes were staring at the injured wild boar. The sneak attack just made the wild boar vigilant a bit, and never dared to go to the river. The night came quickly, and Jian Wushuang adjusted his physical aura to the extreme. In this battle tonight, he had a 90% chance of winning one-on-one, and he was afraid that other animals would participate. If this wild boar can be slaughtered, he will have at least half a month's ration, and his physical strength will skyrocket. He has eaten all the fish in the river, and everything is moving in a good direction, one by one. In 10 years' time, eating all these animals is not a problem. Taking advantage of the darkness, Jian Wushuang quietly crossed the river and came to the territory of wild boar and buffalo. 70% of this grassland is occupied by cattle, and the remaining 30% is occupied by 7 wild boars. That is to say, the cattle are gentle by nature. If they were like wild boars, they would have been driven away long ago. However, his gentle nature made Jian Wushuang's hunting more difficult. In the future, he wanted to kill the buffalo, but he faced a group of people. The strength of a cow is probably more than 10,000 catties, and dozens of them are hundreds of thousands catties. It was not caused by him now. Quietly bypassing the territory of buffalo, Jian Wushuang's pace gradually slowed down. Although his vision was a little fuzzy, he still found the injured wild boar based on that force. It was lying under a tree, and the pigtails snapped at the flies around it from time to time. Jian Wushuang licked his lips, and the wild boar was injured. Although he was much weaker than before, it also made him very vigilant and did not sleep at all. Go to hell! He leaned back slightly, holding the spear in one hand, and threw it fiercely. The sound of the spear breaking through the air, as soon as he awakened the wild boar, he pointed straight to the door. Puff! Plasma burst, the spear was centered on the skull of the wild boar, there was a terrible cry, and the startled birds scattered on the tree. Although the spear pierced the top of the wild boar's head, it did not make the wild boar fall directly, instead it became more violent than ever. No matter how stupid it was this time, I could see that Jian Wushuang was sneaking on it. The trembling body burst out with astonishing power in an instant, rushing towards Jian Wushuang. Reluctantly, the injury on his hind leg was too serious. Jian Wushuang just turned sideways, then raised his foot and kicked the wild boar's hind leg. Jian Wushuang used his full strength, causing the wild boar's other hind leg to make a crisp sound. This time it should be really broken. Both hind legs were broken, and no matter how strong the wild boar was, he couldn't touch Jian Wushuang at all. Pulling his legs, like a headless fly, chasing Jian Wushuang everywhere. Jian Wushuang looked at the opportunity, jumped up, provoked the height of the battle, grabbed the spear stabbed on the wild boar, and pulled hard. The red and white things stood out and scattered all over the ground. Taking advantage of this opportunity, he stabbed the wild boar's abdomen again, and then, with a single pick, he threw it out several battles and smashed it on the ground fiercely. The wild boar that fell on the ground shook his head, and the blood remained along the front door. He wanted to roar again, but he couldn't make a sound, and couldn't run away. Cool. After breathing for a few breaths, its eyes stared at Jian Wushuang, and ran forward again, with two fangs sticking into Jian Wushuang's body. This time Jian Wushuang was not evading either. His legs suddenly kicked back, raised his left fist, and blasted towards the wild boar's door with all his strength. Bump! The fist collided with the pig's head, and there was a muffled noise. There was a hole in his head, but now it collided with Jian Wushuang's fist and collapsed directly. Jian Wushuang's entire fist was inserted into the wild boar's forehead, and the two fangs were only a little short of touching his body. Except for the last time I struggled a bit, the other times I won it steadily. This time it was also to try the current body and punched the wild boar through the head, which satisfied him. After taking a breath, he turned to look at the other wild boars, with murderous eyes in his eyes, so that they dare not come forward. The valley was so big, a wild boar was killed, and many livestock and even predators were extremely jealous of Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang put the whole wild boar on his shoulders, and with heavy steps, he began to cross the river and headed to the lower reaches. The upper reaches is the habitat of the wolves. He carried such a big wild boar. It is estimated that he will be besieged by the wolves. The water is deep downstream, and there are buffaloes. It is just right to slaughter the wild boars, and the cattle will be his bodyguards. The wolves dare not come over. Jian Wushuang, who had already figured out the entire canyon, found a cave by the water pool downstream and began to slaughter wild boars. He cut the pork, which was 1,000 catties, and prepared to light a fire during the day and eat a meal. He has been eating raw fish these days and he almost vomits. With food, and a relatively hidden place to live, Jian Wushuang gradually forgets that he is still a practitioner. Jian Wushuang, with shaggy beard and disheveled hair, is like a savage. However, his body has also undergone obvious changes. Many lines began to appear on the flesh. These lines are not very obvious, but Jian Wushuang can see that it is a strange beast based on the totem drawn by the lines. Spring goes to autumn and winter. Jian Wushuang has been living here for about a year. With the supplement of the first wild boar, he completely settled here. In 1 year, he slaughtered the other 6 wild boars. Now his strength has exceeded 30,000 catties. Boom! In the upstream waterfall, Jian Wushuang's body was bathed under the rapids of the waterfall, and from time to time there were a lot of broken pieces that smashed on his body along with the water. Chapter 5279. Now those lines on his body are getting clearer and clearer, and the golden lines are very similar to the giants he encountered in the starry sky. There are these lines on the back and chest, and now it has spread to the legs and arms. After washing for almost half an hour, Jian Wushuang left the upstream and returned to the residence downstream. After this year's renovation, the cave can be regarded as a good place. Some of the hides of cattle and sheep were cut by him to make a bed. Since entering here, his living habits are the same as those of mortals. Even if the physical body is so strong now, he will still be sleepy and hungry. Puff! Jian Wushuang took out a piece of charcoal from the black charcoal, blow it hard, and the flame burst out. Crackling! After the fire was set up, Jian Wushuang took out the hind legs of a buffalo and began to put it on top and roast it. After roasting for a while, he took out a sharp stone knife and began to cut the cooked meat on it, feeding it piece by piece to his mouth. Every bite of meat increases his strength. With today's power, he is no longer afraid of wolves. Few animals in this valley can threaten him. The only thing left is the Tiger King living in the woods. The increase of 10 wild boars is comparable to that of a buffalo, and 10 sheep can be comparable to wild boars. This is what he calculated right now. At present, the Tiger King's gain should be the largest. As for the wolves, he doesn't have this idea for the time being. He has eaten a few goats. Since he doesn't need to hide in the flock, he will hunt down some goats that are alone. In 9 years, he had to plan and plan later. He planned to eliminate all the remaining wild boars within this month, and then began hunting buffaloes. Finally, the flock. Put Tiger King at the end. The original rule was to eat all the livestock, which should not be counted as the Tiger King and the wolves, but he didn't dare to gamble, it was best to eat them all. He ate most of the several hundred catties of beef legs in the afternoon. Now he can eat 1,000 catties of meat a day, and under normal circumstances, he can also eat 400 to 500 catties. The greater the power, the greater the demand. In addition to hand-to-hand combat, now he has also learned to arrange traps. There are a lot of traps in the mountains to catch wild boars. If you are lucky, you don't need him to do anything. En. Jian Wushuang raised his brows and walked out of the cave slowly. A tragic voice came from upstream. Listen to the sound, it should be a wild boar. He walked swiftly along the river and began to go upstream. It's really good luck, it should be the wild boar again. Jian Wushuang's face leaked a smile. It's better not to do it, or not to do it. He didn't come here to practice fighting with livestock, but for the flesh. All the animals in this valley, he will do his best to devour them, and will never leave a trace. Time is running out, he doesn't have time to hunt head by head. In addition to traps, he will now attack the flock every day. Now that the flocks have become hostile to him, it is hard to find those who are alone, so they can only deal with the big buffaloes. A ox of power, tens of thousands of catties, fortunately not as agile as a wild boar, he is also very easy to deal with. After running along the river channel for almost a quarter of an hour, I got outside the woods upstream. In the woods, there was nothing except Ruayuruowas howling, and even the usual wolves hadn't seen one. There is something strange. Jian Wushuang slowed down, and after exploring around, he slowly approached the howling woods. This time he also brought 4 or 5 short spears and a sword cut out of corbel bone. Although there is no origin and divine body now, he still remembers his swordsmanship when he was a mortal. If he really faced a pack of wolves, with his superb swordsmanship, he would really not be afraid of those wolves. Gradually approaching the depths of the woods, he found the howling wild boar, and it was indeed caught in the trap he arranged. The whole body of the wild boar fell into a small cave, and there were a few sharp bones that pierced its body. Jian Wushuang secretly breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that there should be no problem at present. But the disappearance of the wolves still made him a little uneasy, so he decided to take the wild boar and leave immediately. The woods upstream have always been the chassis of the wolves. Now I have not seen these wolves. There is only one situation, either they are all dead or they are driven away by other animals. Jian Wushuang was even more convinced that the wolves were driven away by something, and the strongest in the entire valley should be the Tiger King. The wild boar can't drive away the wolves. Jian Wushuang cautiously came to the wild boar, with short hair in his hand, and pierced the wild boar's lifeline with one blow, and instantly closed his eyes. After hunting so many heads, he already knew the weakness of the opponent. After more than a year, he has already gotten used to all this. Pulling the wild boar's ear with one hand, he pulled it out of the trap, and the explosive force caused the ground to sink. The next moment, Jian Wushuang suddenly stopped what was in his hands, slowly put down the wild boar, his eyes became sharp. An extremely low roar came from deep in the throat, and the dead leaves on the trembling treetops fell, hitting Jian Wushuang's eyebrows. It was a pack of wolves. Jian Wushuang took out a short spear and turned his head slightly. 7 or 8 wild wolves appeared behind him. There are also a few in front of them, and you don't need to look at them. The wild wolves on both sides also leaked fierce and evil eyes. The time to come is always coming. He dared to start entering the valley. These wild wolves still don't care. After all, he is the only one, but now his hunting has threatened the wolves. Wolf. This animal has a particularly strong sense of crisis. Jian Wushuang, as a hunter, has seriously threatened them. Even the mantis tricks of catching the cicada and the oriole were used on Jian Wushuang. The low roar made people shudder. Jian Wushuang, who had only a physical body at this time, was still struggling to deal with wolves. He was not yet familiar with the power of these wolves. Move gently, holding a short spear in each hand, ready to do it at any time. Move. In an instant, the surrounding wolves rushed in an instant, like a gust of wind, a straddle was several battles away, and Jian Wushuang had to retreat. But now there is no way to retreat, I can only choose a better way to go, and prepare to go out. Taking a step forward, Jian Wushuang spotted a lone wolf that had fallen behind, thrust out a spear, killing him instantly, then quickly turned around and left the position he had just now. It was just a time to turn around, and several wild wolves attacked the position just now, very fast. Sneak attack, trap, round up. These wild wolves came prepared, it seems that this time they want to stay here. In the time of fighting with a stick of incense, Jian Wu had all the short spears in his hands, killing a few wild wolves, and there was no short spear in his hand, only a bone sword was left. A bone sword made of ox bone, 3 feet long, without a trace. The swordsmanship of ordinary times, Jian Wushuang was like a heart, and the tip of the sword spiraled around. Chapter 5280. And on Jian Wushuang's back, the wild wolf also rushed 3 blood into Linlin's mouth, the blood was left along the back, the flesh turned out, hideous and terrifying. The 3-foot sword was in his hands and was fully utilized. For a time, neither of the two parties can ask for much bargain. I really underestimated these beasts. Jian Wushuang retreated to a towering ancient tree, and the bone sword was placed in front of him, covering his eyes, and he could only observe the wild wolf in front of him from under the sword. Jian Wushuang felt very familiar with this scene. He felt as if he had drawn his sword 100,000 times, every time he was under the tree at this moment. Now he didn't have that much inspiration. When the wild wolf pounced, his body turned back and his toes lightly stepped on the trunk, his body rushing out like a dragon. Catch the thief first. In terms of tactics, these wild wolves are much worse. He had been staring at the Wolf King a long time ago, but he dared not leak the killing intent in his eyes, so he would be spotted by the wolves, so he covered his eyes with a sword and kept staring at the lower body of the Wolf King. This jump was several tens of feet, and went straight to the position of the Wolf King. Only then did the wolves react, but it was too late. A sword of cold light. The Wolf King's huge head rolled to the ground, while Jian Wushuang's figure was standing in the position of the Wolf King, looking at the other wild wolves with cold eyes. Oh. The Wolf King died, and these wild wolves didn't know whether they should take revenge or retreat. Now that the wolves are half dead and injured, if they really want to fight, they must be extinct today. Just when the two sides were hesitant, Jian Wushuang felt a chill on his back, which was a great horror. The wolves also noticed the problem and wanted to escape, but it was too late. A big yellow-spotted tiger rushed out and solved a wild wolf in one bite, and then ran around, completely dispersing the killed wolves. Tiger King Jian Wushuang was sweating coldly behind his back. In just an instant, half of the wolves were resolved, depending on the level of agility, it was still above. In terms of strength, slapping an ancient tree with a diameter of a battle with one palm is definitely more than 100,000 catties. He is definitely not an opponent. Escape. Jian Wushuang has only one thought in his mind right now, that is to leave the green hills without fear of firewood, so hurry up. According to his current speculation, after eating the cattle, it would almost be able to break through 100,000 catties. It is not the time to deal with the Tiger King. He was swiftly paced, jumping constantly, and the Tiger King, who had already dealt with the wolves, stood on a mossy stone, looking at Jian Wushuang's back, and his pale yellow eyes were full of killing intent. In the valley, the wolf pack and the Tiger King have always maintained a delicate relationship. Now that the wolf pack is finished because of Jian Wushuang, if Jian Wushuang is also wiped out, then the entire valley belongs to the Tiger King. The cattle and sheep are its back garden. It stood on the stone and screamed at Jian Wushuang's back. Wuthering mountain forest, let the birds fly away from the forest. Tiger King's speed is much faster than Jian Wushuang, and one step is tens of feet. The chase of the two in the woods is very conspicuous. It's over, Jian Wushuang said secretly, and his figure stopped instantly. There is a cliff in front and a waterfall upstream. At a height of 1,000 feet, if he jumps down, he will die forever. Tiger King also slowed down, and began to look around Jian Wushuang. Fighting can happen at will in the moment of change. Jian Wushuang casually tore a broken step strip from his body, wiped the blade, ready to fight to the death. The ordinary swordsmanship, I don't know if he can deal with this Tiger King, but now he has no choice. Huang looked at it for a moment, as if he could see Jian Wushuang's flaws, and accompanied by a low roar, it took the lead to leap forward to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wuduan faced the blood basin with a big mouth, and it was too late to turn around. Brandishing a bone sword, the white sword body was like a streamer. Reluctantly turned over by Zhenguang to escape the attack. Tiger King also used a pair of tiger palms to disrupt the sharp sword light. When the two separated, Tiger King flicked his tail and directly knocked the bone sword down from Jian Wushuang's hands. How clever the Tiger King is, he discovered Jian Wushuang's reliance in a fight. If there is no bone sword, it can't stop it from biting. Jian Wushuang only felt his wrists numb, and the bone sword came out of his hand and fell aside. How could he stop thinking about this, and smashed Tiger King's back severely with his left fist. The explosive power of this punch tens of thousands of catties directly shook the tiger's sight out of several battles. He also took the opportunity to step back a few steps, held his right arm, and then healed for a while. This animal's skin is really thick. Jian Wushuang gritted his teeth and shook his wrist. His punch was enough to kill a buffalo, and the enchantment hit the Tiger King, but it didn't have much effect. Now the bone sword in his hand was also lost. It would be very unfavorable for him to fight again. Fortunately, with the first experience, and the next few bites, he escaped without danger. Cool. His breath began to be gradually unstable, and it consumed too much, and there was no power to supplement it. Only now this physical strength is still too far away. This is mundane. Physical strength is the first step. The strength is only more than 30,000 catties, which is accumulated on the flesh, but it is just opening up. The veins have not been opened yet. In this first exercise, he really didn't see anything special. www.mtlnovel.com. Even if all the animals in the canyon were slaughtered and eaten dry, he would increase his strength by 1,000,000 catties. Superimposed on the flesh, at most, it can open up 108 veins, making his flesh reach the extreme in the mundane. This is just the mundane stage. This strength of the physical body, let alone cultivating immortals, even a cultivator can defeat it at will. This is not what he wants. Too weak. Although it was only the first exercise, it was still too weak and not in his expectation. Feeling the wound on his back, the hot pain, made Jian Wushuang a lot of sweat, or blood, on his forehead. On the brow, a hideous hole was shocking. It can't be delayed any longer. Jian Wushuang's heart is full, and he will definitely fight to the death. Tiger King bowed his head, a pair of pale yellow eyes, filled with evil spirits. Puff! A gust of wind hit, and the Tiger King jumped and killed again. Jian Wushuang didn't hide this time, and he didn't have much strength to hide. His legs bent and his body leaned back. See the bone sword not far from the ground. There was a tension in his mind. When the Tiger King rushed forward, he rushed to the Tiger King's abdomen with a sliding shovel, picked up the bone sword on the ground and made a stab towards the Tiger King's abdomen. With this sword, he used up all his strength, holding the bone sword firmly in both hands, and with the help of the Tiger King's impact, the bone sword made a few feet in the Tiger King's abdomen. The hot blood spilled over Jian Wushuang. The Tiger King's body fell heavily to the ground, and he couldn't die again. Jian Wushuang let go of the bone sword, limp on the ground, panting heavily. Tiger blood flowed into his mouth along the corner of his mouth, making his blood boil, and his whole body was transforming. Chapter 5281. In this battle, Jian Wushuang was completely clear about all his opponents. The entire valley will be his back garden, and within 10 years, it will be easy to clear all the livestock. In addition to the Tiger King's body, he also took all the wolf heads to the cave. This time, the receipt was enough to save him from hunting for 3 months, just polishing his body. The flesh and blood power of livestock is very strong. Even after eating them, Jian Wushuang needs to polish his flesh and absorb all the flesh and blood essence. For example, Tiger King's blood is simply a tonic to his body. The bones of the whole person have changed, and the golden lines on the body have become more obvious. In the following days, he polished his body wholeheartedly, absorbed the essence of the Tiger King, and made his physical power break through to 100,000 in one fell swoop. It's still not enough. Jian Wushuang looked at the bones all over the floor, somewhat helpless. I thought that this Tiger King would at least make his body stronger, but he didn't expect to increase his strength in the end. The changes in the bones have not changed much. After all, it is not a treasure of genius. As the flesh became stronger and stronger, the livestock in the valley could no longer threaten him. Whenever he was hungry, he would hunt and kill a buffalo. Eat the freshest if you want. Time is fast, and 10 years have passed in just a few seconds. Jian Wushuang gnawed on the last rib of the lamb and burped. Now he, like a savage, was completely dark and ragged. In this valley, he was left with a breather. Jian Wushuang, an extremely burly figure, just ordinary walking made a big earthquake tremble, and every step was a heaviness of hundreds of thousands of catties. Thump. On the last day, Jian Wushuang stood on the top of the cliff, where he had fought with the Tiger King, and glanced around the valley. These 10 years have been the most special time since he entered the practice. Completely lived as a savage. In the hundreds of millions of years in the starry sky, at least his strength was still there. In this valley, he was a mortal when he first arrived, and even a wild boar could bully him. Now I am leaving, take one last look. The next moment, he jumped directly into the bottomless pool. The sturdy body became clear. Today, he seems to have been reborn, his bones are very large, and on his clear and clean chest and back, golden lines appear. The harder he was, the more prominent the golden lines became. The golden pattern outlines an ancient beast, even Jian Wushuang doesn't know it. In the magic column, outside the trial tower, the middle-aged man in black armor, with a little in his hand, a streamer turned into 100,000 rays, and flew into the trial tower. Each ray of light turns into a black-clothed messenger, attracting 100,000 Jian Wushuang in the trial tower. In the end, the golden light turned into 1 point, and the 100,000 avatars also turned into Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, who returned to the demon suppression pillar, was no different from when he first entered. The madness and extinction armor on his body is still there. This is... Jian Wushuang was speechless. At the moment of fusion, he realized that he had split 100,000 clones. Don't be surprised, you have completed half of the first exercise. The black-armored man said lightly. Jian Wushuang hurriedly put away his armor, leaking a black suit, and then with a slight force, he directly shattered his coat. Looking at his chest again, the golden lines are extremely dazzling, and every inch of his body is outlined. The Wanbei divine body is also running wildly at this moment. The divine body and the origin all returned, and the familiar sense of manipulation completely pulled Jian Wushuang back to reality. Jian Wushuang asked in surprise, "Senior, is all this illusory?" He couldn't believe it. It was obvious that the physical body had been strengthened, but he felt that everything was not real, especially the incarnation of 100,000 copies of the same memory, without any deviation. This is also amazing. The black-armored man smiled slightly and replied, "Advanced cosmic copper furnace. When your first training is completely completed, I will answer you again. You have not completed even half of it now. After the physical body is truly condensed and tempered, it will be the first." Yi Lian indeed, if supergrade's physical body is so simple, it won't stop so many strong people. How could the process of tempering the supergrade physical body be so simple as the threshold of the 10,000 times divine body? Jian Wushuang nodded. He also understood that after entering the first floor of the trial tower, he could use nothing, just a first-order mortal. The threshold for refining a supergrade physical body is a tens of thousands of times the divine body, but it is not necessary to enter the trial tower divine body, which is obviously unreasonable. I am afraid that the threshold of the 10,000 times divine body is in this universe copper furnace. His hair is flying, his upper body is naked, and his skeletal back is like a of war. The edges and corners of the muscles are also particularly distinct. Click. The cosmic copper furnace was opened. The scorching air wave came over the surface. This arrogance was enough to annihilate Dian Immortal, but he was about to enter the tempering for a whole hour. If there is no tens of thousands of times the divine body, I am afraid that there will be no ashes left to be refined within a quarter of an hour. Jian Wushuang swallowed, his lips were a little dry. After bowing to the black-armored man, he stepped into the copper furnace with a firm look in his eyes. After entering the copper furnace, he felt what purgatory was. That burning sensation is not as simple as a ground fire. In this cosmic copper furnace, there is an incomplete source. Jian Wushuang just sat cross-legged on the red ground. He felt a beating of origin. It turned out to be an unowned source. Jian Wu was overjoyed. For a time, a bold idea came out of my mind. At first he thought that the origin was from the black-armored senior outside, but now it seems that this origin was injected into the inside by other powerful beings. Before he had time to think about it, the moment the cosmic copper furnace was shut down, the flames rose. Wow! Countless treasures were taken out by him, and these were the treasures needed during the first refining. With so many treasures, Immortal Dian's body can be directly promoted to low-grade consummation. The treasures of the first 3 refinements were able to refine a perfect flesh that was stronger than the Emperor Morlong. This is still a direct improvement. If there are cosmic copper furnaces to help temper the body, I am afraid that his body will be comparable to the middle-grade perfect body in the first refining. Jian Wushuang no longer thought about other things. Countless treasures were refined into a golden liquid by the flame, and began to revolve around his body. The scorching flames constantly eroded his flesh. Let his body rot again, and finally recovered again. This way over and over again. No matter how powerful the divine body is, it can't stand the consumption like this. In particular, he has now expanded the beast god domain to the limit. Although the scope has been reduced to cover only the flesh, the expendable power and divine power are the same. An hour is really the limit. Jian Wushuang gritted his teeth, which was more painful than he thought. Once the body is broken, one point is strengthened. He needs to be broken 100,000 times. The swallowed essence and blood of hundreds of thousands of heavens now needs to be merged into one. How simple it is. Chapter 5282. In the end, 100,000 times of shattering made his body completely transformed into a mass of flesh and blood. Now sitting there cross-legged is just a divine body phantom. The mass of flesh and blood slowly overlapped with the treasure swirling around him. The golden liquid refined by countless treasures was thoroughly stirred with the flesh and turned into a golden ball. Then, according to his divine body phantom, he began to reshape his body. The first exercise has also reached the most critical moment. Carrying the past, the first practice reshapes the flesh to perfection. Unable to resist, all the expenses were paid for. At this time, Jian Wushuang did not dare to slack, and fully cooperated with the universe copper furnace to complete the last step. Start with the bones. Jian Wushuang is very familiar with the colorful skeleton. This is a bone of the ancient beast that he spent and exchanged millions of treasure points. Now it has been refined into a liquid, and the impurities in it have been removed, more than it used to be, and it has completely turned into his bones. The huge skeleton is as high as 9 feet. It was no different from the previous Jian Wushuang. After all, it was built according to the phantom of the divine body. After the skeleton part is completed, start to irrigate the flesh. Starting from the head, a majestic face appeared. Sword eyebrows, star eyes. There seems to be a starry sky between the eyebrows, unparalleled in ancient times. Then there is the upper body. The sturdy figure appears. Every inch of muscle is sharp and angular, and the wrist is extremely wide. The golden lines on the chest and back are more obvious. It wasn't until the entire body was completely reshaped before Jian Wushuang let out a sigh of relief. The breath was like a changhong. Although the flames evaporated as soon as he spit it out, Jian Wushuang could still clearly feel that his current physical body was countless times stronger than before. With one punch, you can burst a star without using the force. If he had completed the 9 exercises, he couldn't even imagine how strong he would become by then. Although the physical improvement was a bit stupid, Jian Wushuang was still absolutely, this time very wise. Origin, divine body, realm, and soul. He has all reached the edge of the threshold. Instead of slamming the cart before the horse, it is better to take another path. As long as there is a qualitative change in strength, everything can be broken. Wow! The cosmic copper furnace slowly opened. Jian Wushuang walked out slowly without incident. After he walked out of the copper furnace, a new set of black robes appeared on his body. Congratulations, Jian Wushuang. Luck, he said modestly. Now his whole aura has undergone obvious changes, and now he can be regarded as understanding what the supergrade physical body represents. No wonder, after the 7th exercise, it represents the peak, let alone the 9 exercises. Even if you haven't reached the 7th exercise, the strength of the flesh is far surpassing those superior perfect flesh. This is not luck, this is your strength. The black-clad man paused, and then said, by the way, you can call me Shanjun from now on, you don't need to call me senior. Shanjun? Jian Wushuang was shocked. Isn't this the demon lord who is tied to the pillar of the demon town? When he first saw the other party was not so easy to talk, he looked fierce and vicious. Why, are you surprised? Shanjun smiled lightly and said, that's right, you little guys, now it's the 2nd stage of the trial, and it should be against those demon kings. Senior, you seem to be a little different from those devouring demon lords. Jian Wushuang asked curiously. The devouring demon lord he saw were all crazy demons, and he didn't have much consciousness. Regardless of whether it was the main body on the suppression demon pillar, or the current phantom, Shanjun was conscious, especially this phantom, where it seemed to swallow the devil. Ha. Shanjun couldn't help laughing, and said, this is natural. Those devouring demon lords you see are clones of 10,000 demons. Jian Wushuang leaked his doubts and murmured, Wn Mo. Yes. You have not yet become a core inheritor, there is no need to know so much. The phantom of Shanjun floated above the copper furnace of the universe, through a ray of light, with reminiscences on his face. At the beginning, God fell, thousands of people together, turned into a few of them, and now they are all suppressed in this temple of divergence. In the outside world, another God, who also controls the whole way, was also suppressed. Swallowing one, originally hopeless, but now he has met Jian Wushuang, a practitioner who rekindled his hope. A Dian immortal who cultivated the power of devouring himself, although his body did not have the aura of swallowing the avenue, the evil aura of the swallowing power was the same as them. This is a host. God, demon lord, demon lord. God is the suppressed one in the original universe, comparable to the master of the universe, and several of them also have the top strength of tier 6. As for the demon lord, they were all clones of the lord of 10,000 demons. A few of them, each concealed the secret of the universe. What a glorious past, it is a pity that in the end God fell, and several of them were also caught in the temple of Chishan one by one. 2 great God-level powerhouses, one was suppressed in the primitive universe, and the other fell into 5 demon masters. Mischief. The great God, deprived of his devouring way. The method of breaking the arm of such a strong man is simply shocking the past and the present. The original one became thousands, but it condensed 3 God-level powerhouses, and one who is still missing, it is not known whether it is death or life. Now that I see a cultivator with swallowing power, how can I make Shanjun not happy? Jian Wushuang also saw the wound in Shanjun's eyes on the side, so he changed the subject and asked. Some trial towers. It turned out that the first floor of the trial tower was constructed by 100,000 zhutian. Once inside, the body will turn into 100,000 copies. At the beginning, his body in the canyon was only 100,000th. No wonder it is so weak. Ben Hai thought it was suppressed, but he didn't expect it to be divided into strength in the end. Even with the power of the flesh, Jian Wushuang also has supreme combat power. 100,000ths, turned into a mortal, it makes sense. Now it's 1. After refining it, his physical body can already be comparable to an ordinary treasure. Even if he stands still and lets the 9-rank Dian immortal attack wildly, he can't damage it at all. This is still without using the divine body and origin. If the divine body and the origin are added, even the Taoist strong will not be able to hurt him. With his current physical body and 10,000 times divine body, He has achieved the ultimate in Dian Immortal. This is far from enough, he must be the strongest. Even beyond those ancient gods and demons. In the final analysis, the divine body is now thousands of times, still relying on the candle dragon's eyes, it is all foreign objects. The basic divine body and the perfection of the physical body are the true foundation. If the basic divine body is tens of thousands of times, he is truly invincible, and the divine body alone can be comparable to those of the ultimate way of Dian Immortal. Okay, I've said everything that needs to be said. You can enter the trial tower. Although your background is quite deep, the second level is very special. Don't be careless. Shanzhen's eyes gently exhorted. Joke. Jian Wushuang has never looked down on any floor of the 9-story trial tower. 10,000 treasures are still here, how dare he take it lightly, trying his best every time. Chapter 5283. The door of the trial opened, Jian Wushuang nodded, took a step forward, and entered the trial tower again. This time, as Shanzhen said, it was very different. The trial tower on the second floor made him reminisce about the ease of the first floor. This second level is very similar to the purgatory he imagined. The terrifying existence he saw on this level, the terrifying creatures tumbling in the magma, he didn't want to see again in his life. I hope you will never see the sun. In the second layer, Jian Wushuang's strength is not differentiated or suppressed, and he has the most peak combat power. But in this level, his strength is useless no matter how strong he is. 360 chains, he needs to go to the end of each chain, and under the chains are the ancient gods and demons churning in the magma. Each end has the power of the emperor, and some of them surpass Zhen Wuyang. They fought and howled in the magma. But Jian Wushuang walked slowly on the chain cautiously, and under the terrifying temperature, his innate treasure armor was steamed and hot. Ordinary treasures can be melted at any time in this purgatory. After all 360 chains were walked, he only felt that his feet had lost consciousness, and his consciousness had become extremely stiff. So that after he stepped into the lotus-shaped altar, his legs were like stone pillars, truly immovable like a mountain. The lotus altar is the only land in this purgatory, only a few miles long and wide. It is like the Optimus pillar, standing on top of magma. All around were red chains, and below were terrifying magma and those giant beasts. Cool. Looking back at the magma behemoth below, Jian Wushuang was still a little breathless. This is a test of the flesh, this is a test of will. Walking on the chain, the hot feeling on the chain has been tempering the flesh, and underneath is a giant magma beast. If one is not careful or can't hold on, it will fall. Fall down. Jian Wushuang's cold sweat broke out behind him, and he really couldn't imagine the scene of the fall. This walk is 300 years of suffering. Use the beast domain all the time to increase the body, otherwise it will not be able to bear it at all. Especially the destruction of will, making him extremely stiff, or extremely tough, no matter which step he will take firmly. After arriving at the altar, he did not feel that relief at all. It wasn't until a few hours later that he opened his eyes and looked at the center of the altar. According to the message conveyed on the token, he needs to sacrifice his current physical body on the altar. Although he didn't understand why it was so outrageous, he still had no choice but to walk to the altar. At the core of the altar, there is a big tripod, very huge. Jian Wushuang started the sacrifice ceremony according to the above law. Thump. He knelt on his knees, raised his hands directly above his head, and came to worship with a 5-body head. Bang bang bang. 3 times in a row. Great Huang, please accept this flesh. Jian Wushuang slowly got up, but his still bowed down beside the cauldron. What stood up was the phantom of the divine body. Hum. The dading made a noise, and his physical body slowly stood up, and then jumped into the dading. Boom. A beam of light burst out from the cauldron. Jian Wushuang's shadow trembled. Then everything returned to calm. Jian Wushuang frowned. Is this over? The next moment, dading burst out a beam of light again, flying out of 3 bronze locks. There is also an old man with a white beard. He looks kind and has curved eyes. Sacrificer, which lock you just sacrificed? The white-bearded old man spread out his hand, and the 3 bronze locks glowed in 3 colors of gold, silver and yellow, corresponding to the 3 grades of gold, silver and bronze. I seem to sacrifice. Jian Wushuang was about to blurt out, but then stopped abruptly. He originally wanted to say that it was a sacrificial body, but then he thought about it. Since he had given him 3 treasures, then he had no other choice but to choose one from the 3. Senior, I sacrificed this golden lock. Jian Wushuang bowed and hugged his fists, with an extremely respectful attitude. The white-haired old man groaned and sighed. Oh, that's it. Give you this golden lock. The golden lock floated towards Jian Wushuang, with several dragon-shaped patterns embroidered on it. The power emanating from the top is extremely powerful. When Jin Suo touched the phantom of his divine body instantly radiated brilliance, and unexpectedly began to reshape a new physical body. Basically, the former is the same, but with the fusion of golden locks, his divine body is even stronger than before. Lock the dragon body. Jian Wushuang's body turned golden, and a giant dragon was locked inside his body. Just when he was shocked, the white-haired old man sighed and said with some regret, It's a pity that a good body is unclaimed. The old man can only use it for fishing with hatred. As soon as the white-haired old man finished speaking, a fishing rod appeared out of thin air in his hand, and a fleshy body hung on the hook, exactly like Jian Wushuang. The fishing rod stretched for thousands of battles and was thrown under the magma. In a short while, a giant magma beast was caught, but the giant magma beast caught by the fishing rod became very small, and its breath was also very weak. The old man with white beard was very happy. Putting away the fishing rod, holding the giant magma beast with both hands, he re-entered the cauldron with a smile on his face. Only Jian Wushuang was left standing in the wind in a mess. It seems, I missed something. Physical body. Yes, it is the flesh. The unclaimed flesh. I assent that the flesh of his sacrifice. This old man with white beard, knowing that it was his body, even regretted in front of him, it was broken to the bone. Jian Wushuang jumped straight in place. Although the golden lock is obtained, the physical strength that can be increased is limited, which is not in line with the second-tier receipt. At this moment, the token uploads information. The trial failed. Damn it. Jian Wushuang did not dare to speak out, but in his heart he cursed the white-haired old man 10,000 times. Now that the trial has failed, what should I do? He is not dead yet. He was forcibly moved to the place where he started uncontrollably. This is where the dream begins. Everything went back to the beginning. He had just stepped into the 2nd floor of the trial tower for the first time. The only thing that changed was that his body was much stronger than before. Part of it is exercised by walking 360 chains, especially the tenacity on the legs, which is very obvious. Another part comes from that golden lock. This time, Jian Wushuang was not in vain. Jian Wushuang tried to comfort him, but he raised his head and looked forward. There were countless chains in all directions, and Jian Wushuang's heart to die. All the treasure points are spent, and now I have to bite the bullet and walk all the way to the dark. Fortunately, his first experience, coupled with his firm will and a strong mood, did not make him fall apart. It just wasted more than 100 years of time. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.